this video, we are going to take a look at how to analyze the nutrient report that is usually called a bar graph, but in this case we are just showing it to you in a table. So this is looking at all of the nutrients from a kind of a broad perspective, looking at how much a person should consume, which would be your DRI, and comparing it to how much the person actually consumed. So let's first take a look at calories. We can see that this individual consumed 1,389 calories. The person's DRI is 1,757 calories. So the DRI is the goal. This is the total amount that a person should consume by the end of the day. So the individual consumed 79% of the recommendation. So we could say that this individual fell short of the goal, and the calorie intake would be less than, which would be more likely to promote weight loss. Okay, now let's take a look at cholesterol. Cholesterol, the individual consumed 329 milligrams, and the recommendation, or the DRI, is less than 300 milligrams. So that's very similar to saying an upper limit without it being called the upper limit. So in this case, the individual consumed more than, they consumed 110% of the DRI, which exceeded the amount that they are supposed to consume. Now let's take a look at the vitamins and minerals, and these are divided into two separate categories. Let's first start with vitamin A. For vitamin A, the individual consumed 994 micrograms. The recommendation, or the DRI, is 700 micrograms. This individual consumed 142% of the DRI. Now in this particular vitamin, we have an upper limit. It's 3,000 micrograms. So this person consumed adequate amounts, meaning enough to meet the goal, but not too much to exceed the upper limit. Now let's take a look at another one. For riboflavin, the individual consumed 1.39 milligrams. The recommendation is 1.1 milligrams. This individual consumed 126% of the goal. There is no upper limit, which means that we don't really have an amount that is too much. So it doesn't matter how high they go on this one, the individual would be in range as long as they are over 100%. Now let's move down to the minerals. Let's take a look at calcium first. So this individual consumed 383 milligrams. They are supposed to consume 1,000 milligrams. That's their recommended DRI, which means they only consume 38%. The upper limit is 2,500 milligrams. Obviously, they got nowhere close to that. So in this case, what we would say is that they were very low, not even close to 100%. Remember, 100% is our goal, so that's the minimum of what we want. We basically want somewhere between the DRI and the upper limit for each of our nutrients, with the exception of something like cholesterol that said under 300 milligrams is the recommendation. All right, so let's take a look at one more example. And this last example is sodium. So the individual consumed 2,638 milligrams. The recommendation, or the DRI, is 2,300 milligrams. The person consumed 117% of the DRI, or 117% of the goal. But here's the interesting part about sodium. The upper limit is the same as the DRI recommendation. So in other words, it's like cholesterol in that the DRI recommendation is under. You should consume less than this. They are the same. So in this case, consuming 100% is not a good thing. So all of the other vitamins and minerals, it was true that we wanted to see somewhere between at least the DRI, but less than the upper limit. in this case, we need to see below both the DRI and the upper limit. So in this case, having 117% is a bad thing. So this person exceeded the amount of sodium that they should consume for the day. So hopefully this video helped you out to better understand the analysis of nutrients when you're looking at reports for your various assignments.